Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirye. Nashtuprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva, text number 35 onwards. So we are discussing the prayers or the instructions of Lord Shiva to the Prachetas, but he said that whatever I chant, you also chant, you'll get the perfection. So Lord Shiva says, Sankarchanaya Sukshmaya Durantaya Antakaya Cha Namo Vishwa Prabodhaya Pradyumnaya Antaratmane. My dear Lord, you're the origin of the subtle material ingredients, the master of all integration as well as the master of all disintegration. The predominating deity named Sankarshan and the master of all intelligence known as the predominating deity Pradyumna. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances to you. The whole universe is maintained by the integrating power of the Supreme Lord, who is known in that capacity by the name Sankarshan. The material scientists may have discovered the law of gravity, which maintains the integration of objects within the material energy. Yet the master of all integration can create devastation by the disintegrating blazing fire emanating from his mouth. A description of this can be found in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, wherein the universal form of the Lord is described. The master of integration is also the destroyer of this world by virtue of his disintegrating energy. Sankarshan is a master of integration and disintegration, whereas Pradyumna, another feature of Lord Vasudeva, is responsible for universal growth and maintenance. The word Sukshmaya is significant because within this gross material body, there are subtle material bodies, namely mind, intelligence, and ego. The Lord in his different features, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Sankarshan, maintains both the gross and subtle material elements of this world. As mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, the gross material elements are earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and the subtle material elements are mind, intelligence, and ego. All of them are controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And this will be further explained in the following verse. So Lord Shiva, he knows all these facts, and he is praying to the Lord, he is glorifying him. You are the origin of the subtle material ingredients, the master of integration and as well as the master of all disintegration. So it means without the sanction, without the mercy, without the approval, or without the energy given by the Lord, nothing can happen. Nothing. Integration, disintegration means creation and dissolution. Everything, and the maintenance and operation and maintenance, what we call in the technical terms, everything happens by the mercy of the Lord. Nothing can happen without his sanctioning, his supervision, his mercy, his getting involved in everything. Nothing can happen. It's so much controlled. And of course, everything has to be controlled. It cannot just run around on its own. The whole creation, the whole universe. So Lord Shiva further says, Namo Namo Aniruddhaya Rishikesh Indriyatmane Namaha Paramhansaya Purnaya Nibhrit Atmane. My Lord, as a supreme directing deity known as Anirudh, you are the master of the senses and the mind. I therefore offer my obeisances unto you again and again. You are known as Ananta as well as Sankarshan because of your ability to destroy the whole creation by the blazing fire from your mouth. Rishikesh Indriya Atmane. The mind is the director of the senses, and Lord Anirudh is the director of the mind. In order to execute devotional service, one has to fix his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. Therefore, Lord Shiva prays to the controller of the mind, Lord Anirudh, to be pleased to help him engage his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita 9:34, the mind has to be engaged in meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord in order to execute devotional service. It's also stated in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. From the Lord comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Thus, if Lord Anirudh is pleased, he can help the mind engaged in the service of the Lord. It's also indicated in this verse that Lord Anirudh is a sun god by virtue of his expansions. Since the predominating deity of the sun is an expansion of Lord Anirudh, Lord Shiva also prays to the sun god in this verse. So the predominating deity of sun is an expansion of Lord Anirudh, and Anirudh is the controller of the mind. So for us, because we want to engage our mind properly in the service of the Lord, we should pray to Anirudh. But at the same time, if we are praying to Krishna, everybody is his expansion. So we don't need to pray separately. But just to know that who does what, here Lord Shiva is praying to all of them. Lord Krishna, by his quadruple expansion, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Anirudh, is a lord of psychic action, namely thinking, feeling, willing, and acting. Lord Shiva prays to Lord Anirudh as a sun god, who is the controlling deity of the external material elements, which constitute the construction of the material body. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the word Paramhansa is also another name for the sun god. So Paramhansa is also another name for sun god. The sun god is addressed herein as Nibhrit Atmane, which indicates that he always maintains the various planets by manipulating the rainfall. The sun god evaporates water from the seas and oceans and then forms the water into clouds and distributes it over land. When there is sufficient rainfall, grains are produced, and these grains maintain living entities in each and every planet. The sun god is also addressed herein as Purna, or complete, because the rays emanating from the sun have no end. So sun, planet, sun god, sun rays, they're not going to end anytime. Sometimes scientists say, oh, very soon the reaction, the fission or fusion, whatever is happening in the sun, is going to be over and there will be darkness, or it is reducing with time. Nothing is going to happen. Till the destruction or till the end of the day of Brahmaji, when the dissolution takes place, yes, but I don't think sun planet is going to be destroyed in that destruction. So when the whole universe is destroyed, the sun god will change with every manu, but the planet is going to remain as it is. For millions and millions of years since the creation of this universe, the sun god has been supplying heat and light without diminution. The word Paramhansa is applied to persons who are completely cleansed. When there is sufficient sunshine, the mind remains clear and transparent. In other words, the sun god helps the mind of the living entity to become situated on the platform of Paramhansa. Thus Lord Shiva prays to Anirudh to be kind upon him so that his mind will always be in perfect state of cleanliness and be always engaged in the devotion service of the Lord. Just as fire sterilizes all unclean things, the sun god also keeps everything sterilized, especially dirty things within the mind, thus enabling one to attain elevation to the platform of spiritual understanding. So, see, in Bhagavad Gita is considered the summary of all the Vedic literature. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I'm the sun and the moon. I'm the sunshine and the moonshine. So whenever we go out in the daytime and we see sunshine, we look overhead, there is sun planet or sun, Surya Dev is there. We should immediately remember it is also considered, sun and moon are considered two eyes of the Lord. We can immediately remember Krishna. But here also, so we can remember sun god is Anirudh and is controller of the mind. We can pray to him. In Vedic tradition, there is a tradition of doing Surya. We offer water to Surya. There is Surya Namaskar in yoga. There is process of offering water to Surya Dev. So many times people who have no faith in it, they make fun of. Oh, what is going to happen? What you're doing? You're taking water from the river and just offering it to sun and back to the river. What happened in all this? Well, everything belongs to the Lord. Nothing belongs to us anyway. So in the process, we are being grateful to the Lord for supplying us with all the necessities, and especially when we offer water to sun god. Through this, we can pray to the sun god to help me control my mind, or Lord Anirudh, who is also the Lord of the mind. And also by offering water to the sun god, he also gives us good health, physical health also. So this is only because then we are showing a gratefulness, that we are grateful with gratitude, our gratitude towards sun god and towards all the deities. People say, oh, they make fun of that. Why do you offer milk on Shivling? We not only offer milk, we offer many other things on Shivling and to other deities also. But this is a way of showing our gratefulness. Otherwise, Gita says we'll be considered thieves. If we just take and enjoy it, we'll be considered thieves. Then they make an argument that why not just feed it to poor people? There could be so many things. Why they have to only attack or question the Vedic traditions? There's so many things, so many activities happen where there's plenty of money that is wasted. Plenty, crores and crores and crores and crores of rupees. But nobody questions over there. And all these traditions are mentioned in the scriptures. That's why devotees do it. So the problem is lack of knowledge. It's ignorance. And proper attitude and etiquette of people who are following it. They should have the proper attitude that I'm doing it because this is the right thing to do, and this is the knowledge, this is where it comes from. And also the problem is because of lack of knowledge, okay, the one generation does it, it doesn't pass on properly to the next generation. So the next generation, till they are little, they do it, and when they grow old, and then they go to all these colleges for technical education, but then the people there, they themselves are not familiar with all these traditions or the importance of it, then the younger generation also loses faith. So knowledge, very important. Not just kids, you do it because I tell you to do it, because we do it. Why we do it? That is more important. That's what the next generation is looking for, the answers to why do we do it. So not just how to do it, when to do it, why to do it. So now all the festivals are starting. This is a festival season. Dussehra is there, then Diwali, then Karwa Chauth. There's so many festivals will be there. Govardhan Puja, in the Vaishnav tradition, Damodar Leela, and then Radha Kund appearance. Because all those Vaishnav traditions, Prabhupada has given us proper answers. But the other traditions which we follow, we should try to learn why we do it. What's the story behind it? And then teach the right thing for the new generation. They'll be happy to learn and follow. And then their faith will be strong. So sun planet is not just sun planet, there is a sun god also. And then we worship him. We worship him the way anyway. And then the sun god, being pleased, he can provide us more and more facilities. Swargapavarga dvaraya nityam shuche shade namaha namo hiranya viryaya chatur hotraya tantave. O my Lord Anirudh, you are the authority by which the doors of the higher planetary systems and liberation are opened. You are always within the pure heart of the living entity. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. You are the possessor of semen, which is like gold, and thus in the form of fire, you help the Vedic sacrifices, beginning with Chatur Hotra. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. The word Swarga indicates a position in the higher or heavenly planetary systems, and the word Apavarga means liberation. Those who are attached to the Karma Khandya activities described in the Vedas are actually entangled in the three modes of material nature. Bhagavad Gita therefore says that one should be above the dominion of fruitive activities. There are different kinds of liberation or mukti. The best mukti is engagement in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Not only does Lord Anirudh help fruitive actors by elevating them to the higher planetary systems, but he also helps the devotee engage in devotional service by dint of his inexhaustible energy. Just as heat is a source of material energy, the inspiration of Lord Anirudh is the energy by which one can engage in executing devotional service. So the inspiration of Lord Anirudh, why? Because he controls the mind. And the mind is the one that takes us towards devotional service or away, or makes us more sincere in devotional service. So Lord Anirudh plays a very, very important part. Of course, everybody plays. Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Anirudh, Vasudeva, everybody. Nam urj ishetraya patya yagyat retase tripti daya chajivanam namah sarva rasatmane. My Lord, you are the provider of the Pitri Lokas as well as the demigods. You are the predominating deity of the moon and the master of all three Vedas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, because you are the original source of satisfaction for all living entities. When the living entity is born within this material world, especially as a human being, he has several obligations unto the demigods. unto the saintly persons and unto living entities in general. As enjoined in the Shastras, Devarshi Bhutapta Nirnam Pitrinam. Thus, one has an obligation to one's forefathers, the previous hierarchy. Lord Shiva prays to Lord Aniruddha to give him strength so he can become free from all obligations to Pitas, demigods, general living entities, and saintly persons, and completely engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. So very, very important that, of course, Narad Muni says later in Bhagavatam that Devarshi Bhutapta Nirnam Pitrinam. It says one becomes free from all obligations to the demigods, saintly persons, pitas, ancient forefathers, etc. if one is completely engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. Lord Shiva therefore prays to Lord Aniruddha to give him strength so that he can be free from such obligations and entirely engage in Lord's service. So those who are engaged in, and Prabhupada says, and the Shlok also says, completely engaged in devotional service, they don't have any obligation to anybody else. Why? Because Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashyami ma shucha. Because Krishna, when Krishna is pleased, everybody else is pleased. But then again, first condition is completely engaged, full surrender. Secondly, even if one is completely engaged or fully surrendered, still he can do or he does perform these duties as an obligation to demigods, sadhus, pitas. Why? To set an example for others to follow. Because people actually look for shortcuts. They don't want to see what a devotee has gone through in performing devotional service. But if they see the devotee doesn't do all these activities, and they say, oh, he doesn't do, we don't have to do. But there's a condition, there's a prerequisite for that. People will always look for shortcuts. So a devotee, as a respect to the scriptures, he still follows, to whatever extent, he still follows the traditions, so that he sets a good example for the people, general people to follow. Why the devotees? Even the Lord himself, when he comes, he sets an example. This is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. When I incarnate, I don't have to do any karma, but I still execute karma to set an example. Otherwise, it will cause ruination to the world. Because people follow the leaders. They follow the leader's example more than the instructions. Soma, or the predominating deity of the moon, is responsible for the living entity's ability to relish the taste of food through the tongue. Lord Shiva prays to Lord Aniruddha to give him strength so that he will not taste anything but the prasad of the Lord. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung a verse indicating that the tongue is the most formidable enemy among all the senses. If one can control the tongue, he can easily control the other senses. The tongue can be controlled only by eating prasada offered to the deity. Lord Shiva's prayer to Lord Aniruddha is meant for this purpose. Tripti Dai. He prays to Lord Aniruddha to help him be satisfied by eating only prasada offered to the Lord. So the tongue has two qualities, eating prasad and vibrating to talk. So, eating and talking. So eating is controlled by eating prasad only, and talking is controlled by talking about Krishna. So for both cases, one has to satisfy Lord Aniruddha, just like Lord Shiva is praying to him. But But if we satisfy Krishna, Krishna is the source of everybody, it is okay. But at the same time, we have to understand that all the senses have to be controlled. And tongue is the most formidable enemy among all the senses. Not even the mind, it is said, tongue. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has composed that bhajan, Sharira Vidya Jal, Jadendriya Tahika, Jiva Fele Vishay Sagare, Tara Madhya Jivati Lobamay Sudurmati. So this Jiva, tongue, most difficult to control. So even today's Dashera, so we can see, although Ravan, when he did tapasya to please, first he pleased Brahmaji and then he pleased Lord Shiva himself. So when he did tapasya to please Brahmaji, so tapasya means complete control of all the senses. Complete control. That is tapasya. And he did for thousands and thousands of years. I think he did for 10,000 years. And after 1,000 years, he would cut off one of his heads and offer to Brahmaji. So at the end of 10,000th year, he had only one head left. And he was about to cut it off and offer it to Brahmaji. So these 10,000 years, he didn't eat anything. So complete control of tongue. He didn't get angry at anybody. His eyes, he didn't look at anything beautiful. His ears, he was always chanting Nam Namo Brahmaya, I don't know, whatever the mantra for Lord Brahma is. So all the senses were completely controlled. Only one sense was not. Of course, during 10,000 years, yes, but his mind was not in control when he said, when he asked for, he asked for the similar benedictions as Hiranyakashipu had asked. So he also wanted to become immortal. Brahmaji said, he didn't mention that in a previous incarnation as Hiranyakashipu, you wanted the same thing. I didn't give it to you at that time. How can I give it to you now? I can't even give you anyway to begin with. So Brahmaji said, I cannot. Then he said, okay, give me the benediction that I won't be killed by this, that. But human beings don't even bother. They're so lowly. So I won't even ask that you give me a benediction that human beings cannot kill me. And then it was also as I won't be defeated by anybody. And then Brahmaji gave him an additional extra bonus benediction that whenever somebody cut down your heads, they all will grow back up. So you'll not lose any of your 10 heads. So he had 10 heads, but he didn't have the proper intelligence. That was the problem. So heads were just a burden on his body. But for 10,000 years, he did complete control of all the senses. He did not kill anybody and eat it up during his tapasya. But what happened afterwards? It was like just like we are in quarantine. So we are inside and everybody's planning, oh, as soon as this quarantine is over, I'll do this, I'll go to this place and I'll watch movie and I'll go to this restaurant and try this and go to that restaurant and eat that. It's like We'll all go crazy as soon as the quarantine is over. So same thing happened with Ravan. So as soon as his quarantine, his tapasya was over and he got all the benedictions and he became more powerful. So more ways to enjoy the same senses, which he had controlled. But now he was finding more and more ways. But that's what happens. So more and more ways he thought he's invincible and immortal. And he committed offense. Many offenses he committed. And the biggest or gravest was to kidnap Sita. So this is what happens when we have uncontrolled senses. And that too, when we have some power. Because of our pious activities, we get some powers. And then we just, because we have independence as well, then we want to misuse that power. And then we think, oh, this pleases me. I'm very happy if I do it this way, if I do this, if I do that. So it's always about I, me, and mine. But same way, devotees, Hanumanji, he had so much of power. His expansion of Lord Shiva. He was much more powerful than even Ravan. He could have killed Ravan when he went to look for Sita. He could have easily killed Ravan. But there were some technical points, so he didn't. But Hanumanji had much more power. Of course, when he was little, he was misusing that power, and the rishis cursed him that you will forget this power. You will not lose the power, but you will forget all your powers. But when you're going to be serving Ram, going to go in the service of Ram, and somebody reminds you of those powers, then you'll get back all the powers. And Hanumanji had so much of power, he did not misuse. After, when he was a child, he was just playing around. He was not doing it for some other reason. He was just playing. But when he remembered all his powers and he got all his powers back, he used every single power in the service of the Lord. So there's a difference between a devotee and a demon. That is why devotees are very, very dear to the Lord. They have powers. Arjuna had so many powers, so much of power. Bhima had powers. But they used everything in the service of the Lord. So it's not like only demons have powers. Devotees have much more power, but they use it for service of the Lord, only for pleasure of the Lord. Nothing for themselves. So this Dashera, actually I should have prepared on Dashera today. I forgot. Actually, here it is tomorrow. So maybe tomorrow we'll discuss this Dashera festival. So anyway, so Lord Shiva is praying to Lord Aniruddha. Also, this chapter is clearly, before also it is mentioned, but here it is clear that who is the Supreme Lord? It's not Lord Shiva. He's the greatest devotee of Krishna, and that's why he also has plenty of powers. But he's not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's for sure. So see how he's praying to the different expansions of Lord right now. Sarvasatvatma dehaya visheshaya sthaviyase namastra lokya palaya saha ojo balaya cha. My dear Lord, you're the gigantic universal form which contains all the individual bodies of the living entities. You're the maintainer of the three worlds. And as such, you maintain the mind, senses, body, and air of life within them. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. As the individual body of the living entity is composed of millions of cells, germs, and the microbes, the universal body of the Supreme Lord similarly contains all the individual bodies of the living entities. Lord Shiva is offering his obeisances to the universal body, which includes all other bodies, so that everyone's body may fully engage in devotional service. Since this individual body is composed of senses, all the senses should be engaged in devotional service. For instance, the smelling instrument, the nose, can engage in smelling the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord. The hands can engage in cleansing the temple of the Lord, etc. Indeed, being the life air of every living entity, the Lord is a maintainer of the three worlds. Consequently, he can induce every living entity to engage in his real life's duty with full bodily and mental strength. Thus, every living entity should serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his prana, life, artha, wealth, and intelligence and words. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, even though one may desire to engage in the service of the Lord, without sanction one cannot do so. Lord Shiva is offering his prayers in so many different ways in order to show living entities how to engage in the devotion service of the Lord. So this is what senior Vaishnavas do, senior devotees do. They show us how to serve the Lord, how to engage ourselves in the service of the Lord. And what wonderful prayers Lord Shiva is offering to the Lord. Of course, we cannot remember all these prayers. For us, only Hare Krishna Mahamantra, that is good enough. That contains everything actually. So all we have to do is offer it with love and devotion. Chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra with love and devotion, with attention, with dedication, with sincerity. That's all. So here, Prabhupada mentions, as an individual body of the living entity is composed of millions of cells, germs, and microbes, the universal body of the Supreme Lord similarly contains all the individual bodies of the living entities. So our body, as the scientists say, it has, if I'm not wrong, it has 3 trillion cells. 3 trillion, not even million, billion, trillion. And every cell, actually, if we look at it closely, every cell is alive. Means every cell has a soul. So this body of ours is actually made up of one major soul, and then there are 3 trillion minor souls. Of the soul is all soul. Every soul is same. But major soul means, Prabhupada has explained that if somebody rents a house to live in, so he signs a lease agreement, rental agreement. But if he has people living with him, they are not responsible for the lease. Only the person who has signed the lease, he is responsible for the lease. So others can just live in there and enjoy. So all the 3 trillion entities, they are there inside. But the soul, who's the major lease signer or leasee or renter, he is responsible for whatever happens by the body. But all the cells, organisms, they follow the major renter. They cannot do anything without the major renter. And of course, the major renter follows the Paramatma. Without sanction of Paramatma, nothing is going to happen. So why I'm saying this is, when any negative thought we put in our mind, there are 3 trillion organisms absorbing that negative thought. And similarly, when we put positive thoughts, 3 trillion are absorbing that positive thought. So just imagine the power of a thought. It's absorbed and then it's acted upon by these 3 trillion. So similarly, when Lord Shiva says the universal body and all the living entities, individual bodies of the living entities are part of this universal body of the Supreme Lord, which is that the universal form is not an eternal or permanent form, is an imaginary form. But we all are part of the whole cosmos, whole universe. So we have the power. We have, everybody, all of us, we have the power to change the atmosphere. If we think positively, if all of us, the collective thought, the collective energy of all the positive thoughts can change, can bring about a positive change in the atmosphere, in the world. So all we have to do is just have this Mahamantra in our bag and think positively, think devotionally, and things will happen. Things will change. The universe can change. It's up to us, actually. So all we have to do is start giving positive thought. There's so much of negativity going on all over the world. Whether it's corona, whether it is terrorist attacks, whether it is war, whether it is something else or something. Well, we have to give positive thoughts. And this is the special service of the devotees. They have to do it. Text 40. Arthalingaya navase namo antar bahiratmane namah punyaya lokaya amushme bhuri varchase. My dear Lord, by expanding your transcendental vibrations, you reveal the actual meaning of everything. You're the all-pervading sky within and without, and you're the ultimate goal of pious activities executed both within this material world and beyond it. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances again and again unto you. Vedic evidence is called Shabda Brahma. There are many things which are beyond the perception of our imperfect senses, yet the authoritative evidence of sound vibration is perfect. The Vedas are known as Shabda Brahma because evidence taken from the Vedas constitutes the ultimate understanding. This is because Shabda Brahma or the Vedas represent the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, the real essence of Shabda Brahma is the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So the real essence is chanting of the holy names. By vibrating this transcendental sound, the meaning of everything, both material and spiritual, is revealed. This Hare Krishna is not different from the personality of Godhead. The meaning of everything is revealed through the air, through sound vibration. The vibration may be material or spiritual, but without sound vibration, no one can understand the meaning of anything. Just like I'm speaking and we all are listening, so it's the vibration is going through the air, through the sound vibration. And just like Prabhupada, he recorded his voice in a recorder, and then the devotees heard the recordings and they typed it up, and then back and forth editing, and then we have the wonderful commentaries on Bhagavatam by Prabhupada. So this is all sound vibration. In other words, the consciousness of both soul and supersoul is all pervading. The limited consciousness of the living entity is pervading the entire material body, and the supreme consciousness of the Lord is pervading the entire universe. Because the soul is present within the body, consciousness pervades the entire body. Similarly, because the Supreme Soul of Krishna is present within this universe, everything is working in order. Maya Dhakshena Prakriti. This material world is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all the moving and non-moving beings. Lord Shiva is therefore praying to the personality of Godhead to be kind to us, so that simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we can understand everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. The word Amusmaya is significant in this regard because it indicates the best target one can aim for after attaining the higher planetary systems. Those who are engaged in fruitive activities, karmis, attain the higher planetary system as a result of their past activities, and the jnanis who seek unification or a monastic merging with the effulgence of the Supreme Lord also attain their desired end. But in the ultimate issue, the devotees who desire to personally associate with the Lord are promoted to the Vaikuntha Lokas or Golok Vrindavan. So this is only possible by the sound vibration. The Lord is described in Bhagavad Gita as Pavitram Paramam, the Supreme Pure. This is also confirmed in this verse. Shukdev Goswami has stated that the cowherd boys who played with Lord Krishna were not ordinary living entities. Only after accumulating many pious activities in various births does one get the opportunity to personally associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since only the pure can reach him, he is the Supreme Pure. And the way for us to become pure is by vibrating the sound vibrations, this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, properly and more and more and more with their love and dedication. And this will give the right intelligence or right revelation of both material and spiritual worlds. So all we have to do is use this sound vibration properly. And Lord Shiva is praying to the Lord, please let me understand or chant these vibrations properly, so he can reveal everything to me. So if Lord Shiva can pray like that, what's our position? What's our position? So anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, the number of cells is 37 trillion, not 3 trillion. Sorry.
37 trillion?
Yes,
Wow.
it is 37 trillion.
Okay.
I just wanted one more clarification, Prabhuji. You said that in the Ravana was offering his heads to Brahma. But is it Brahma or he was offering his heads to the Shiva in penances?
No. Later on, he picked up Kailash and he worshipped Shiva. But prior to that, he worshipped Brahmaji.
Achha, he was cutting his heads and by offering them to Brahmaji first.
Yeah. Him, Kumkaran, Vibhishan, Shurpnakha, they all went to please Brahmaji first.
Okay. I was under the impression that he was doing it with Lord Shiva, and then only Lord Shiva gave him this benediction.
Afterwards he pleased Lord Shiva also.
Okay. With the same process by cutting his heads?
No, not with Shivji. He picked up Kailash and he worshipped him. He pleased him.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other question or comment? Okay, so I guess we can stop here. You all have a wonderful and safe Dashara. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you,
Jai
Prabhuji.
Shri Prabhupada.
Hare